In this lesson, we're going to talk about aligning items in a container. So currently our items or our views are appearing at the top left corner of the screen. What if you want to push this to the right or put them in the center of the screen? We go to our container and set the justifyContent property to one of these values. So let's set it to center. Here's what we get. So with this property, we can align items along the main or the primary axis. What is our main axis here? It's the horizontal axis, because earlier we set flex direction to row. So now our main axis is the horizontal axis. Now, what if we change this to column? Now our items are appearing at the center of the vertical axis, because the vertical axis is now our primary or main axis. Let's change this back to row and look at the other values. So we have flex end. Now our items are appearing at the end of the horizontal axis. We also have flex start, which is the default value. And we have three properties for distributing space. We have space around. So with this property, the space between each two items is equal. So look at the space here, it's equal. But the space around the first and last item and the edges of the screen is different. So here we have less space. If we change this to space evenly, now the space is evenly distributed between items. And we also have space between. With this setup, the first and the last items are pushed to the edges of the screen, and the remaining space is distributed between the other items. So let's change this back to center. Now we have another property called alignItems. And with this, we can align items across the secondary axis. So what is our secondary axis here? It's the vertical axis, right? So if we set this to center, now our items appear at the center of the screen. Let's look at the other values. We have baseline. We cannot see the impact of this unless we change the height of one of these views. So let's change the height of the first view to 300 and the second view to 200. Now these views have the same baseline, okay? Let's look at another value, flex end. This is pretty self-explanatory. So our items appear at the end of the secondary axis, okay? What else do we have here? Flex start. Now the items appear at the start of the vertical axis. And finally, we have stretch, which is the default value. Now we don't see the impact of this property unless we remove the height of one of these views. So I'm going to comment this out. See what happened? The blue view stretched to fill the entire vertical axis. So this is the default value. If we comment out alignItems, we get the exact same result. So let's bring it back and change it to center and bring back the height property as well. So with justifyContent, we align items across the main axis, and with alignItems, we align them across the secondary axis. Now, the first time I learned about these properties, I was a bit confused. I was wondering why the names are not consistent. Every time I wanted to align something, I wasn't sure which property I had to use. Honestly, it's a bit weird, I know, but you will get used to it. As we go through the course, you're going to use these properties over and over, so that will be second nature to you. Now, what if you want to change the alignment of one of these items? Let's say we want to put the blue view over here. So we go to this view and set alignSelf to flex start. So look at these two properties. We have alignItems, which we apply to the container, and we have alignSelf, which we apply to an individual item. Now, here's what we get. So this is all about aligning. Next, we're going to talk about wrapping items.